Hi, I'm Mike Huxley and this is the Bemused Backpacker channel. Make sure you stay tuned because in this episode we're going to be talking about reverse culture shock. Travelling the world or taking a gap year is an amazing thing. It's one of the best things you can ever do for yourself. But what happens when that gap year is over? What happens when you have to return home and have to get back to your normal life and your old routine? What you won't hear from a lot of guidebooks or a lot of other travellers is that returning home can sometimes be quite difficult, and coming back home can hit a lot of people really hard. Some of them can actually suffer quite a lot, and this is far more than just missing those days island hopping without a care in the world, or missing those amazing adventures you were having. Everything feels different when you return home because you are different, and it can be hard to readjust back to that routine again, back into your old life. And for many travellers it becomes far more serious than that and can become what is known as reverse culture shock. Now, just like regular culture shock, reverse culture shock is a bit of an umbrella term for a wide range of emotions and problems that can occur as a result of struggling to adjust to coming back home after you've been travelling. Basically, reverse culture shock is that psychological punch in the gut that you get when you return home and have to face what is considered normality again. But it's not your normality anymore. Backpacking around the world can profoundly change the way you think about the world and think about yourself as well. It can change your paradigms, it can change your beliefs, and in effect, it can make you a very different person than you were before you left. This isn't a bad thing at all. In many ways, it's a positive, it's a good thing. But these changes can make it hard to interact with your old life, and many backpackers and travellers do struggle with that sometimes. And it's important to remember that not every backpacker will feel like this when they go home, and not every traveller who does feel like this will feel it in the same way. There's a whole big spectrum there. But some travellers will feel it really hard, and it can lead to a lot of long-term serious mental health problems like anxiety, a feeling of isolation, depression, even in some extreme cases suicide. This is why it's really important to talk about it, and it's really important to recognise and understand what's happening to you when you return home, so you can deal with those emotions in a positive way. So how do you do that exactly? Well, the first thing to remember is that you are not alone in this. Almost every backpacker and traveller feels like this to at least some degree at some point. So remember that it's completely normal, and you're not weird or strange for thinking these things or having these feelings. Everyone does, myself included. The next thing is to prepare for it, or at least prepare for it in the sense that you know it might happen, so you can be ready for it, so that when you do start feeling any of these negative emotions associated with reverse culture shock, it's not going to surprise you, it's not going to hit you like a ton of bricks. Because the biggest shock to most backpackers who've travelled the world and had these amazing adventures, seen and done things that most people will never even dream of, is that when they get back home, no one really gives a shit. Travelling the world can profoundly change who you are. But when you get back home, you'll find that no one really cares about what you've done. Everything back home is the same, but you're different. And it's like trying to fit your round peg into that square hole. And that's a really bitter pill to swallow sometimes. So don't try and change yourself. Recognise that you are different now, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't mean, of course, that your old friends still can't be your friends. And it doesn't mean that your old life is completely gone. It's not. It just means that you are different, and you have to learn how to interact with your old life in a different way, and realise that for better or for worse, some of it may be in your past, and this new person that you are now because of your travels may have to move on from that. That's just a natural part of life, a natural part of growing. There's nothing wrong with that. And the good news is that even though you may be leaving some of your past behind you, you've got a whole new future with new friends, new experiences, new travels, new adventures. And the parts of your past that do stick around, old friends, things like that, you know that they're worth keeping as you move forward. There's no rule that says you have to fit back into your old life exactly as you did before. You are a bigger, better person than you were before you travelled. So create that new comfort zone for yourself where you can enjoy being back home in your old home with your old surroundings for the time being. But you know that now you've got nothing constraining you and keeping you there. Back home maybe where you are for the moment, but travelling the world has taught you that the world really is your oyster and you can get back out there anytime you want. And that's another big thing that you can do to help deal with being back home and dealing with the feelings of reverse culture shock as well. Just start planning your next big trip, or take a few smaller trips in the meantime, either whether that's abroad or whether that's a staycation in your own country. It doesn't really matter, just travel a little bit. Because a big part of reverse culture shock is the feeling of being trapped and being stuck in one place again after feeling all that freedom of travel. And when you're used to being free and having that freedom to move around and go wherever you want, whenever you want, that can be difficult to deal with. But your travels aren't over, they're just paused for a little while, and there's nothing wrong with that. And remember that no matter how hard it may feel at the time, reverse culture shock does get better with time. You're not alone in feeling this, almost everyone does. That is so important to remember, because what you're feeling is completely normal. So when you get back home from your gap year or backpacking trip, just take a little bit of time to reacclimatise back into your old life. You don't have to do everything immediately. You don't have to fit exactly the way you did before. Things will be different. Things are different. You're different. But that's okay. Use all those awesome experiences you had on your gap year. Use all those things that you learned. Combine them with the best parts of your past life that you want to keep, and find your own new place in the world again. Because one thing is certain, having had that gap year, having travelled the world, your life will change. But it will be infinitely more awesome as a result. So that's it guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, hit those thumbs up and subscribe buttons, and if you like what you see and want to support the channel, check out all the good stuff on the website as well, and come and join the conversation on social media too. Links as always are in the description down below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next week.